Good afternoon, my darlings. It is Tuesday, the 21st of May. So we're really going for it, aren't we, with the May Mayhem, with all the books that we're doing. So tonight I thought I would give you a very good treat. Since the world is hell-bent on nuclear annihilation, why not join in the fun, guys? Why not read Down to a Sunless Sea? I know, I've done this one before, but only very briefly. Tonight, let's all glow together with radiation, radiating our dying love for Down to a Sunless Sea. It doesn't get much better than this. To Joyce, for 35 years, my rod and my staff. And that was the author writing to, I believe, his wife, or whoever you are, Joyce. There we are. It was first written back in the heady days of 1981. And the copy I have here, I beg your pardon. It was originally published in Great Britain in 1979, the year earlier, by Robert Hale Limited, but he copyrighted it in 1981. Oh, that's okay. Well, let's see. Let's have a look. Book details and editions. And I think, is this one a Simon & Schuster? Yes, it is. It's from 2007. Yeah, so it's a few years ago, but my husband bought this for me because he just knows I love nuclear war. I can't get enough of it. You would think, I'd find a cheerier subject to make me happy, but I just love nuclear war. I'm fascinated by it, but it doesn't mean to say that I want to live through it. No, I'll pass on that, thank you. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree, where Alf the sacred river ran through caverns measureless to man, down to a sunless sea. Coleridge. I thought it was quite important that I read you that. I'm just going to read you the first page. Flight decks are traumatic places. Memory storages impregnated with sweat, fear, boredom and stress. Somewhere in there, traces of pleasure, satisfaction, nostalgic echoes of vast starry nights like inverted Broadways, snowy peaks jutting through the cloud floors in brilliant sunlight, tropical sunsets from a Gauguin canvas, Gauguin, I can't read tonight, or Gauguin canvas. Indescribable things which compensate for the cruel hours of tense concentration. Most big jet crews get the hell out almost before the main wheels stop rolling. You could get trampled in the rush. Assuming, of course, they have somewhere to go, someone to be with, money to spend, which accounted for my sitting here alone in a silent Delta Tango staring out at a wet, dimly lit expanse of Kennedy Airport. I blew it on all three counts. Nowhere to go, no one to go with, and money was a sick joke in New York this late October of 1985. The log lay completed on my lap. I lit a split. Yes, apparently it's okay for pilots these days to have recreational drugs. Mind you, with nuclear war facing us, do you really honestly blame them for lighting up a split? They might as well get as high as they can before they have to fly as high as they can. The log lay completed on my lap, I lit a split, dimmed down the lights a shade. Down back somewhere the clean-up squad were wrapping it up. Kate and her girls would be clustered at Gate 3 port waiting for transport. I slid back the window at my left elbow. The rain was finished temporarily, because up there in the blackness above the thinly strung floods, the overcast stretched north to the Canadian border, west to the lakes, and south, for all I knew, all the way to the Gulf. The security cordon was stretched thin tonight. Out there were shadows pressed hard on perimeter lights. The 83rd Airborne stood at 4-yard intervals, shiny black helmets over wet, gleaming camouflage slickers. They faced outwards, straddle-legged, Armallites cradled in their left elbow joint. Every fourth man carried a machine pistol with a sniper scope, and each gun bore side saddle with a laser light. The line surrounding Delta Tango, a second 797 with Lustana markings, 2 Varig Brazil Airbuses and 5 US Army Cargonauts, and a C-5 freighters. I dragged hard at the split, putting it way down deep, slowly exhausting the smoke through my nose, and the fatigue and stiffness seemed a little more bearable. There was a time I had loathed the state-manufactured mix of cannabis with Russian and Armenian tobacco. But when it became the only game in town, I wasn't so proud. Things are getting harder to come by, including flight travel. I began to think about the way things have turned out. The last few years, someone once said, man is an infinitely adaptable animal. He was no fool. The big things stood out, of course. Abdication and a third King Charles, an 18-month regency before the coronation, Charles' totally unexpected engagement to a slim American girl. Ooh. Wonder what Camilla would have to say about that. The swift passage of legislation, the crowning of another Victoria from the New World. I remembered with pleasure the stark and beautiful simplicity of the emergency measures by which Charles and his government of service offers straightened out the chaos of the dollar collapse. Yes, the dollar collapsed in 1985, and Prince Charles married a slim American girl? This is an alternate reality. Yes, it is. I'm the first to admit we were very lucky. We had our oil, and unlike the Americans, the sense to hang on to it. We had that quite incredible conversation program which soaked up unemployment overnight, taking just a year and a half to insulate every building in Britain. And there was that strange national upsurge of pride, conscience. I don't know what it was. So despite the rationing, power restrictions, a single national newspaper, and the regression of trade unions into localised bargaining machines, Britain wasn't such a bad place. Tell me where this Britain is. I would like to pay to visit. But America. I stared out westwards towards the veiled towers of Manhattan. I could see sparse lights sprinkled along the skyline. Crazies who put up with no power, no elevators, no comfort for the sake of a bird's eye view of a dying city. I turned. Jerry Chambers came through onto the flight deck, whistling some tune shrilly. Hi. Jerry? All finished back there? My first officer nodded. slid into the right-hand seat, offered me a joint. I shook my head. In the gloom, I couldn't see the creaseless trousers, the egg-stained tunic, the soiled shirt, but I knew they were all there. Chambers had only one thing going for him. He was a damn fine pilot, and in my world that outweighed all the other things. The sloppy dress, the odd walk. He looked like a ruptured penguin's. The irritating reluctance to answer a question until he knew the reply was 100% accurate. He was 4 inches over 6 feet, thin as a rake, wore his stringy yellow hair long, and fascinated strangers. Well, he sounds like a dandy-finey pilot. The way his Adam's apple oscillated in his long, scrawny throat, eventually, nearly, I had almost forgotten the question. The garbage squad finished just now. Kate has half a dozen girls cleaning the galleys. You know how she is. I knew how Kate was. Finicky, I sniffed, and our tanker 707 is due in from St. John's around 6 tomorrow night. Full load. They had a lot of snow up there in New Brunswick. We do get to mention it. Canardia. Or it would have come round in around noon. Yeah, around lunchtime. We can finish refuelling around 9, no sweat. It does mean a later takeoff. Not late, early, Skip. 30 Monday morning. You've been sitting here for the past hour contemplating your navel. I filled in the log, I said defensively. I'm unwinding. Chambers sat smoking, staring out of his window. He might have been deaf, but I'd flown with him for 6 years. I waited patiently. It's fair for the time of year, he said at last. Big depression over Greenland filling, very slowly, almost stationary. We can pass to the south, maybe pick up a jet stream. Full load again, skipper? Every last damn seat, I told him. Kate will be pleased. 610 all told. I believe we have some UN people and another batch of homeless kids. The rest mostly repatriations, as in all the Brits are now wanting to go home and say, "Ta-ta, America, it was fun while it lasted." And I'm not going to read any more of that chapter, but it just gives you a setup for what's happening. It is well, it's about nuclear war, as I've said. I think my cat's playing up. We've got 600 passengers and crew members aboard a jumbo jetliner, and a list without a destination and a country when nuclear war breaks out and spreads devastation around the world. Because unfortunately, while they're flying from JFK and they're going to Heathrow in London, all holy hell breaks loose and everybody decides to light one up. And we're not talking about spliffs now, unfortunately. You see, America has a collapsed economy and an increasingly savage society. When your dollar don't go far, neither do your manners. Then we're causing thousands to abandon America. And we have our plucky Captain Jonah Scott. He was the pilot that was hired to fly some lucky refugees to London. But once in the air, nuclear war broke out and Jonah became responsible for the entire human race. Those poor souls that are on there, oh my goodness me, where will they land? Will they live? Well, some might. Some might get radiation sickness. quite like and love one of my favourite characters of all time. He's a New York cabbie and his name is Chicken Shit Charlie because his cab, believe it or not, runs on chicken shit. And he's as skinny as anything, but he loves his family dearly. And he is a standout character. He takes care of Jonah and Kate and takes them into New York for their last night on normal Earth before their flight the next day decides to, you know, stop me and light one. Yeah, so he's their sort of like guided tour. He's not a dumb cabbie. He goes around fully armed. I mean, he makes he makes Robert De Niro's Taxi Driver look like a complete pansy. To be honest, Chicken Shit Charlie is absolutely brutal in every sense of the word, and he don't take no shit. Quite literally. He'd probably put it in his little taxi and drive. Yeah, you know. I think the science in this, excuse me, hang on, that bed the cat jump, made me jump. Hello, lovely. Hello. Thank you. Very well. Oh, you too. Bye bye. Sorry, completely off topic, but oh my goodness me, guess what just arrived? Air conditioning unit for the car, the one that we had nicked. Honestly, what's wrong with some people? Swear down. You don't go around stealing other people's air conditioning units. They cost a fortune. So, we've discussed Chicken Shit Charlie. I'm sorry about the interruption, everybody, but I do everything in a one take. I do not edit, I do not miss anything out. What you see is real life. And me being fabulous, of course. We are going to follow this poor, plucky pilot, Jonah Scott. Captain Jonah. Yeah, Jonah and the whale. A real Jonah. Except this Jonah turns out to be a good one. So we're going to follow him as he has to stay overnight in what's left of New York. Well, I told you, Chicken Shit Charlie took him and Kate off to a hotel, or high-rise, if you like. And we go very much almost Casablanca in the trip to New York City. And Captain Jonah Scott does remind me a little bit of Rick Blaine in this particular moment in time. And Kate, of course, is Ilsa. I think her name was Elsa. Yeah. Anyway, they were an item once, these two. There is a little bit of history between him and Kate. And let's just say they're friends with benefits. Yeah, definitely. And then they all get on the flight the next day and carrying a few passengers who aren't on the list, the stowaways, one being his co-pilot's girlfriend, who they disguise as an air hostess. And we have some UN delegates that are on there, and they are sadly what is going to be the only ruling government, and because everyone else is going to be dead. Yes, very, very quickly, very, very soon. It's got some really sad points in this book, and I'm trying not to give you too many spoilers, but there's 2 Russian female pilots, and they are really heroic. There's nothing that they won't do for the love of their country and the love of their people. And what happens to them is absolutely, if you don't cry at that point, right, you have no soul. Honestly, those 2 female pilots, in my opinion, I would give them every medal that ever was and ever could be, because they are utterly selfless. And that's all I'm going to tell you about them. But you'll understand when you get to that point in the book and you're reading that. Honestly, if you are not crying into your tissue, hanky, whatever, you have no soul. And also, the poor souls that are up in the Falklands, the last of the British Navy. I think they were the British Navy, or I want to say Air Force or Navy, one of the 2. And they are selfless and heroic to the very end. Captain Jonah Scott, he has the monumental task of trying to land this plane, and it's very hard to land a plane at the best of times. I can attest to that. So God knows what it must be like trying to land a plane after we've got nuclear annihilation all around the world. You know, some more unfortunate pilots who are running on fumes have to ditch into the sea. Yeah, it's not good, and you know, there's quite a lot that drop out of the sky. Yeah, it's really sad. You can hear them on the radio as they're calling to each other, asking to see if there's anywhere that they can land, anywhere at all, anywhere that's left. And every time they mention it's, we've got so many souls on board, and that, you know, it's a standard thing. You know, it's the same when with ships, they've always got souls on board, and it's just the way that it's just terminology. And so poor Jonah's got the monumental task to land this plane somewhere that hasn't been completely annihilated and hasn't had a nuclear bomb land on it. Maybe an atom bomb above, maybe to take out the infrastructure, you know, or an EMP, something like that, leaves the runway. Because I mean, that's what you need. These steam chickens need a long runway. Yeah, I mean, we have a long runway at RAF Finningley, where I learned to fly. Yes. Thank you, RAF. There we are. And I think Jonah needs a runway as long as RAF Finningley. Bless him. And he really does have a hell of a journey. And then there's all the survival that needs to happen when they've landed, and then that's when the adventure really starts to kick up. It's a proper action adventure. It's really an edge of your seat. There isn't anything else out there that's quite like this. Now, my dad read this when I was a little girl, and he loved it so much that he's still got his original copy, and he has been on at me for years and years and years and years to read this. So back in 2007 when this came out. I bought it and I said, hey look Dad, I've finally gone and done it, I've finally read the book. And he went, well, it just took you long enough. And I was like, well, you know, I am raising 2 children at the time, and you know, my hands are a little bit full. I'm absolutely exhausted. But you know, I found the time to read it, and I've read it again recently because, well, to be honest, I am rather perturbed around what's going on out there in the real world. I mean, you know, it's only on Sunday that the Iranian president and his vice president, I believe, or his internal affairs minister, well, they've just been accidentally killed in a bad storm. You know, what is going on? Everybody's playing the cards very close to the chest, like they are in this book. So if you're wondering, geopolitical, in a parallel universe, it really did happen, and Prince Charles really did marry that slim American woman. Bizarre. So if you're looking for something to read and having a bit of fun with in a parallel universe, then look no further than Down to a Sunless Sea. It's a cracking read. It'll take you a wee while because it's a bit of a chunky, but oh, if you ever wondered, that's what David Graham looks like. Yeah, looks like a pilot, doesn't he? Wonder where he got his idea from for this book. Yeah, but it's a unique book. There isn't anything else like this out there. The closest I've ever come to something that's like this is not Down to a Sunless Sea, but On the Beach by Neville Shute. And that's the only closest I've ever come, because the science that's in this, the science was in Neville Shute's book, you know, On the Beach. And I think that they're a very good pairing to read together, the pair of them. Yeah, definitely. I would recommend them both. So yeah, if you've got a penchant for nuclear war, if you really like things that glow like nobody's business, if you like adventure, if you like not knowing where your plane's going to land, then may I recommend Down to a Sunless Sea. You will have a banging time. And on that note, my darlings, I will say good night, and I will see you tomorrow with another absolute proper belter of a book. I don't know what it'll be, because it's a surprise. So, take care, my darlings. Happy readings and enjoy. Don't have nightmares, because this is a parallel universe. And I will see you tomorrow night.